Welcome to Three Steps. This is the first part of a three-part interview with Henry Poole. Henry Poole is a CEO of Civic Action, and instead of me telling you about it, I'll let him explain it to you. And he's also a board member of the Free Software Foundation, and he's married, and he's a father. All right, watch the interview. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome to Three Steps, guys. This is Henry Poole. Henry, how would you like to tell about yourself?
Hey, the name is Henry Poole. I grew up in Oklahoma, and when I was 19, I wanted to get the hell out of there. Mm-hmm. So I put up a map on the wall, closed my eyes, and threw a dart.
Did you really?
I did.
Well, no shit, right on.
Yeah. And it landed at 29 Palms or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was smart enough to know that was a desert. So I went back and I got the dart.
Yeah.
I went and closed my eyes again and hit Riverside. Mm-hmm. So I ended up in Riverside when I was 19.
Wow.
Got involved in, I was involved in technology work. So I eventually made my way up to Northern California and got into, just software engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this man right here, I don't know when this is going to be released. So he may be released before Aaron Pava, or Aaron Pava may be released before him. But you work with Aaron Pava, right?
I do. Yeah.
And you guys have this company that, in my world, in my mind, is super impactful and makes great work. Like what you guys have created and where you guys have, how it's danced and moved and changed.
Right.
Is so beautiful, and I would, if you're willing to share about it, I think it would be great for the guys to hear.
Sure. So Civic Actions call ourselves a digital services agency. We build IT systems for government agencies.
Yeah.
And we pick agencies that have a mission that's kind of it's aligned, passion, purpose oriented with the folks that are on our team and ourselves, and we're just doing our best to have a positive impact.
Yeah.
On the planet, also, get rid of a lot of the Beltway bandits that are ripping off government and causing our taxes to be high.
Seriously,
seriously,
that's a serious thing. And like when I heard you explain that part the first time, I was like, because Aaron tells the feel good part of it and all that part of it. But when you said that part, I was like, that's gold. How is that being missed? Because that's legit. Like, you guys save us taxpayers so much fucking money when you guys come in and you.
The federal government spends like $90 billion a year on information technology, and most of it's been. These are old, antiquated systems. They should have been taken, as they say in Oklahoma, taken behind the barn and put a bullet in them a long time ago.
Yeah, legit.
No, seriously, it's like, and they cost a lot, and we have, a very small number of big old companies that are developing those, keeping those things alive.
Yeah.
The contracting in the government is so complicated that you'd have to be insane actually to start getting into that business, which we are.
Which you are, yeah. To me, it's just bold. It's bold, and I think of you guys as badasses. Honestly, I really do, because it's amazing work that they're doing. So, let's get into it. What does masculinity mean to you?
What does masculinity mean? I'm from Oklahoma.
I'm from Texas.
Yeah, in the church. There's a little church that I went to when I was 4 years old. It was a preschool. Mm-hmm. And at the bottom of the church, they asked that question, what's the difference between little boys and little girls? Mm-hmm. And my mom's from Austria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. My grandfather's from Austria.
Yeah?
Yeah, legit. Yeah.
Yeah. And my father, he's an Okie, but...
Yeah, so is mine.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Claremore, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
No shit.
No kidding.
Yeah, legit.
That's amazing. My mom and my dad were a little bit, they were a little bit unique.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe yours too.
Oh yes, very much so.
And so I told the teacher there, or whoever the woman in the church, I said, well, the little boys have penises and little girls have vaginas.
Yeah.
And she freaked out, called my mom up.
Oh yeah.
And told my mother, she's like, something is going on wrong in your family because your kids they're being taught these really horrible things, and my mom said, well, what do you expect him to say?
Yeah.
And she said, well, little boys wear pants and little girls wear dresses. Boys have short hair and girls have long hair. So, masculinity, in Oklahoma, it means certain things.
Yeah, it does.
There's a sense of, consistency, structure, strength, courage. And, but in my family, my mother was very courageous.
Yeah.
She was much more kind of emotionally fluent than my father.
Yeah.
My father didn't tell me that he loved me. At least I don't remember it until I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
So masculinity means certain things, or it did.
It did.
But it's most of my life I've been changing the meaning of everything. So it means different things today than it did when I was young.
And that's the important part. So what does it mean today to you then?
It means being authentic and true and truthful. Really, that's what it means to me.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Not to say that femininity is not.
Yeah.
But it's, I think it's Data who talks. There's a person, Data, and there's a story about flow and strength or structure, and that story, it's a good model for how to look at masculinity and femininity, where femininity is like the river, the water in the river, and masculinity is the bank.
Yeah.
And you don't have a river without both.
Yeah.
Now there's the masculine, which is the strength in holding the structure, and then there's the femininity, which is the dance, the flow. Yeah. So that's the distinction.
What does it mean to be a man?
Today being a man is probably not all that. I wouldn't say it was all that different from being a woman. And it's actually the same as, I think it's the same as, similar to the masculinity. Being a man is really just being as open, curious, and strong, and willing to look at yourself whenever you're challenged, to learn constantly. When I start to feel some emotions swelling up in me, to me, being a man means, looking for the strength and looking for my own agency in that. So it's oftentimes we can become a victim of something out there. So often, to me, being a man means looking inside and seeing how I maybe created context that created the situation that now is outside of my control in the moment.
What does it mean to be an adult?
People always ask me where I came from, and where I grew up, and I always say I haven't yet.
Yeah, right.
So being an adult, to some extent, being an adult means you're no longer learning certain things. This year I came up with a thing that I wanted to do every day. That thing was I wanted to wake up every morning with the curiosity of a newborn. Oh. So I just wanted to just not have all of the adult shit. Right. Just have okay, well, what is this here?
Yeah.
What does everything mean? And look at things like it was the first time.
Yeah.
And there's a responsibility I feel as an adult, or there's a certain I don't know. I have certain learnings, and I need to hold on to those and stay true to those so that I can create safety.
Yeah.
And some boundaries around my family, for my family, and around my friends. So really being adult is knowing which ones of those boundaries to keep in line, and which ones need to be or can be moved around because of whatever changing circumstances. So.
Yeah. Did you ever have the I'm an adult moment? When
I was probably around the same time I went to that church, when I was probably 3 or 4 years old, I had to walk to school, and instead of telling me to look both ways before I crossed the street, my father got me in the car and he drove me around town, and whenever he saw a dead animal, he would point to the dead animal. Right. And he'd say, "Look, the animal's dead. What happened?" And I'd say, "Oh, well, I don't know. Well, the car ran over him." And my father would say, "Well, I wonder why that happened." And I would think, oh, I guess it didn't look.
Yep. But
So anyway,
a very similar.
but so it must be an Oklahoma thing.
I don't know.
I have to tell you, there's some really good things that came out of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
There are. I mean,
No,
Oklahoma is
there
like
are.
really great.
Yeah.
It's also, it's really dark, but it's got a light. There's light as well. Anyway.
Yeah.
So so in terms of like becoming a man or growing up, my parents were constantly, they let me run free.
Oh yeah.
And then when I get off, they introduce some reasoning to me so that I could get back in.
Yeah.
And I was in an environment, was safe enough to do that. I could explore and make mistakes and hit reality. So I didn't really feel a transition between, being a child and being an adult. It was like I was always, I didn't see the distinction.
Right. I'm very similar. We had 40 acres of wood behind us and 200 acres of pasture in front of us. And at 6, I had my 2020 Winchester and my dog. So my mom would pack me a lunch and say, "Go out and play."
Yeah.
Yeah. I just went out and shot things and built things. And
So did I.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 6, I was probably 8, but when my kids were. When my kids were 6 or 7, I took them to Oklahoma and I took them out in the woods and told them how to shoot. It's like, we weren't shooting at animals because they wouldn't really appreciate that, and I don't appreciate it anymore.
Yeah.
But it didn't really have the, it's different.
It's different. It's definitely different.
Yeah. My parents saw children as adults. My mother, who is from Austria, she took me when I was probably 14. We went to this old castle, and they had these suits of armor.
Right.
These big metal things that the warriors would wear 1,000 years ago. And she showed me the ones that were really small.
Yeah.
They were probably, this tall or something.
Yeah.
Up to here on me now.
Yeah.
And they were for the warriors because a lot of these kids that were out in fighting wars were 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, you grow up in the situation that you're in. So for my parents, adulthood, we didn't really talk much about it. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
So it never was for me.
Thanks for watching. So what do you think of his stories? Funny stuff, right? So leave a comment down below and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you on Wednesday.